Hello everyone, this is Kona, and thank you for tuning in to another video. Now, as you may know, I've been playing TF2 for a long time, over 6 years, and so far, I haven't found a game that's more fun than TF2. There are other games that try to compete with it on the PC, like, Battlefield Heroes, which is kind of dead now. There was Brink, and the upcoming Overwatch, but recently Nintendo released a new type of shooter that I've never seen before called Splatoon, which is just so much fun to play. Now when I play it, I feel the same way that I do when I play TF2. I just have a hell of a lot of fun with it. Now in Splatoon, you essentially play as these squid kids that just spray a bunch of ink all over the place to mark your territory, and whoever has the most ink all over the place wins. This is a pretty interesting take on the third-person shooter genre, or just the shooter genre in general. I've never seen anyone do anything like this before, which is why I think a lot of people sort of, paid attention when they announced something like Splatoon, is because no one's ever seen this before. Now, I think this game is very innovative, not in just the gameplay, but also in the way that it was released as well. Before Splatoon was even released, they allowed you to try the multiplayer part for free in what they called a global testfire. I think the way that they did this was very, very smart. First off, it just sounds so much cooler when you call it a global testfire. I mean, essentially, they could have just called it an open beta like everyone else. But by calling it a global testfire, it made it sound a little bit more special. What also made the testfire unique is that it would only last for 1 hour on specific days, and they tried to make it so that all these different time zones were able to play. Usually when a beta starts, it lasts for like a weekend or something, but by limiting the testfire to only 1 hour blocks, it made it seem like more of a special event. And also, I think they did this to try and stress test their servers so that they would be ready at launch. Now in the last global testfire right before launch, there was like a 1 hour delay, and I'm not really sure why it happened. There were actually connectivity problems and such, so I'm not sure what caused that, but I'm glad that that happened during the testfire so that it would make the official launch a little bit smoother. Now since I actually got to test the game before it came out, I ended up pre-ordering it on the Nintendo eShop. And now I know there's a whole bunch of you thinking, oh, you shouldn't be pre-ordering games and giving developers money just based on promises. But, I think pre-ordering is a very situational thing. I'll admit that, a while ago, I actually kind of fell for the hype of trailers, more specifically Watch Dogs. When I saw it, I got hype and I actually pre-ordered it, and when it actually came out, it wasn't that great, and I felt really disappointed. I felt like I was ripped off, and so I didn't want to do that again, which is why with Splatoon, I was very cautious about it, but with the global testfire, I was able to actually play the game before I bought it. So when I pre-ordered it, I was like, okay, I know what I'm getting because I actually tried it. Unlike Watch Dogs, where I sort of just bought it based on all the hype around it and all the trailers and such. So, I like it when companies do this, where they allow you to actually play the game before it comes out for free or something like that with a demo, so that you can make a better informed decision about whether you want to actually buy it or not. Now onto the actual game. Sorry I was just rambling about all the pre-release stuff, but I thought it was just so cool. Now, I mentioned before that Splatoon made me feel the same way as TF2 does, and let me explain that. Now in TF2, I only play pubs, so that makes the game very casual for me. Now, even though there are objectives in that game, like pushing the cart or capping a point, the objectives are not the main reason why I play the game. It's good to have objectives to keep the action focused and to promote teamwork, but I play the game for those crazy moments, like in TF2, getting chain stabs, bombing in on medics as a soldier, and of course those crazy random crits. I love those. In Splatoon, the objective is to cover the majority of the map with ink, and I try to do that, but what makes the game so much fun to play, at least for me, are the gunfights. The combination of your primary weapon, your grenades, your special ability, which I like to call an ultimate for some reason, and I think maybe it's because I play so much Dota, and of course the squid form, a combination of all those things makes for really fun gameplay. Like in TF2, in Splatoon, I don't care about winning. As long as I'm having fun, I feel like a winner. Now I think Splatoon got some things right that are worth mentioning. First is the Turf War game mode, which is the only game mode that you can play right now, but they'll probably add more in the future. This game mode seems to be the game mode that defines this game. Now there are many games that have their own variation on traditional FPS game modes. For example, games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, and even TF2 have their own versions of like a capture point game mode or a CTF game mode, capture the flag game mode. But, if a game can make their own game mode that is unique to them, I think that'll help them stand out from the rest. You know, for example, TF2, for me at least, is all about payload. That seems to be like the thing that I love about TF2. My favorite game mode is payload because I've never seen it in any other game before. You know, CSGO has their, their traditional plant diffuse game mode. That's kind of what they're known for. And Splatoon has Turf Wars. I also like the speed at which you can play matches, if everything is running smoothly, of course. It takes about like 10 seconds or something like that between matches to fill up the lobby, since it's only looking for 8 people. So you can play a lot of matches in a row and quickly lose track of time. And because the games are so quick, you can play a lot of these games within a 1-hour session. But that sort of leads me to my first biggest complaint about this game, and it's the lack of maps in the rotation. Now, Splatoon has 2 maps in a rotation for a given 4-hour block period, so that means for 4 hours, you can only play 2 maps. That sounds kind of crazy, right? So after an hour of playing, I found myself getting really bored of this game, so I would just have to quit or something. Now, I think they should implement a voting system similar to Mario Kart, so you can get a lot of different maps and a lot of variety while playing. I mean, imagine if you were stuck for 4 hours and you can only play 2 maps, like, I don't know, CTF Well and 2 Fort. If that was true, I would just quit. Another thing that really bugged me was the confusing user interface. Now, I think the layout of the user interface is fine. I really like the art style and especially the music in this game. It's awesome. But what I don't like is the design of the UI navigation, specifically when you're queuing for matches and waiting in lobbies. When you're waiting for a match to start, the gamepad switches to this weird jumping mini-game that I guess is used to kill some time. And instead of this mini-game, I would really like other abilities to do stuff, like the ability to drop out of the lobby, go back to the main menu. You can't even do that. Maybe I want to switch my loadouts, or maybe I want to adjust my controls or something like that. All these things could have been added to make the experience a little bit more pleasing, but instead you're kind of just stuck in a lobby with a mini-game that gets really boring. Now, maybe they did this, they didn't want you to change your loadout in a lobby because the matchmaking system might take your loadout into consideration when forming the teams, but still, at least give me the ability to just drop out of the lobby. My final thing that I don't really agree with is the gear-based system and level progression. I'm really against this type of system in a shooter because I feel that it turns a shooter into an MMORPG. The gear you have, mainly the cosmetics, should not give you an advantage before the fight even begins. Now, certain cosmetic items in the game give you more attributes that lower level gear just doesn't have. This leaves lower level players at a huge disadvantage that could discourage them and make them more frustrated. Now, hopefully the matchmaking system can help with this so that newer players with lower level gear are kind of put together, but I've been in games where there were max level people and their gear clearly outclassed my gear. Also, the special attributes of the gear seem to be almost random, which means it's almost impossible to get the attributes that you want and the cosmetic that you want at the same time. Now, right now I'm using the Aloha shirt because I'm from Hawaii and I think it looks awesome, but it's the lowest level cosmetic you can get, and with only 2 attributes, I can't really upgrade to higher level gear unless I want to upgrade to uglier gear that I don't really think looks that great. I would have liked the way the cosmetics are implemented in TF2, where you can wear pretty much whatever you want and it won't affect gameplay. Also, this gear can get really expensive, and kind of like an MMORPG, there's level progression in the game, which means there's a lot of, quote, grinding. I know you're not like hitting mobs or whatever, it's not really PvE MMORPG style where you're just kind of killing computer mobs. In this case, yeah, you are playing multiplayer and you are playing against other people, so it can be exciting, but still, having level progression in a shooter, I feel like it makes it grindy to get all the good items. So those are my initial thoughts on Splatoon. I can imagine if this game was free to play on the PC, imagine if it was released on Steam or something like that. Gosh, this would make so much money because it's just so much fun. The game feels casual, and with its playful art style, it just looks casual, right? And it kind of plays casually. But at the same time, there are some serious strategies involved, and it can get really competitive. I'm having an absolute blast with this game. It's so much fun, and I'm really looking forward to what Nintendo does with it in the future. Now my question for you is, what do you think about Splatoon? You know, the concept of it, the visuals, the gameplay, or whatever. You know, what do you like, what do you don't like? Let me know in the comments below. So I hope you enjoyed this video, thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.